All right, folks, welcome aboard the Thursday edition of the Steve Malzberg Show from our New York City studios. We're going to have an exclusive interview with Bill O'Reilly, host of Fox News' The O'Reilly Factor. He's author of Killing Reagan. It's caused a lot of controversy. People like Craig Shirley and most notably at Fox, George Will, syndicated columnist and Fox News contributor, have blasted O'Reilly. Now, Will went on O'Reilly's show and they went at it. And then Will wrote another column blasting O'Reilly again. And O'Reilly has blasted Will. John Bachman, our own John Bachman of Newsmax now, has interviewed Bill O'Reilly. And you will see that interview right here a little bit later in this show exclusively. So don't go anywhere. Tell your friends. Also, the great Andy McCarthy joins us in a moment to talk about what is going on at the University of Missouri, at Yale, at Ithaca, and soon to be at college campuses around the country. Let's watch this insanity as we get ready to welcome in Andy and get his take.
Are you a reporter? Are you documenting? What are you doing?
I'm documenting.
Okay, well,
you need to get out. You need to get out.
This is public property.
Yeah, I know, that's a really good one. I'm a communication faculty, and I really get that argument. But you need to go. You need to go. You need to go.
So please respect these people's wishes. I think it's very simple.
I didn't see you respecting that reporter.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that professor, or whatever you want to call her, we all hear, oh, she resigned. She didn't resign. She gave up her little position there with the media, the journalism place there, but she's still an assistant professor, and her husband is also on the payroll of the school, reportedly. Joining us now is Andy McCarthy, as promised, former federal prosecutor, National Review columnist. And, Andy, I got to tell you, I watched that, and it makes me sick. Now, you wrote a piece at National Review yesterday, Hey, Mizzou, where's the poop? Because much like Hands Up, Don't Shoot, which wasn't too geographically far away, that was a myth. And until today, when we find out that a campus police officer claims he actually saw the swastika made of poop, we questioned and you questioned whether or not it existed. But to me, the fact that now we know that one cop saw this doesn't change anything. Why should a swastika in a bathroom made of poop all of a sudden be an attack on blacks?
Well, look, Steve, if there was a swastika, I could understand even if I wouldn't necessarily leap to that conclusion because it is imagery that's used by, white extremists, those, skinheads and guys like that. So but my thing is, I've looked at the police report. It's more redacted than not redacted, which is peculiar to me for something that, we're not talking exactly about a terrorism offense here. It seems to be a report that was completed days afterwards, and I still go back to the same point. I used to do this for a living. If the police go out to what they identify as a crime scene, which is what that police report says, this is an act of vandalism, they collect evidence, they take photographs. Where is it? If he saw it, then I'd like to see what the investigation showed. And you're quite right. I think they're leaping to conclusions that this was necessarily directed at any one, even if you accept the fact that that white racists sometimes use the swastika imagery. But we're like a million miles away from proving anything like that. And I must say, maybe this is because I grew up in the Bronx in the 60s, but, we used to have all kinds of provocative stuff written here, there, and everywhere, and somehow people managed to go on with their lives. I saw I can't remember if it was a cartoon or something in the last day or so comparing, Yale today, where they're afraid of Halloween and
right.
They get themselves all whipped up over that, versus Yale in 1942, where you had, George Bush, 41, the war hero, basically shot out of the sky and almost killed in a plane attack, but because of his valor, managed to survive. It's really not a it's not a progression or a regression that says good things about our country.
No, Andy, this appears to be, you know, manufactured, whether there was the swastika or not, and now on Ithaca, the students walking out and demanding that president resign. And why? Because on a panel somewhere on campus, somebody said something that was offensive, and they didn't take action that was swift enough in the minds of the black students there. I mean, this is totally out of hand. And, you know, where are we headed? You have a son who's headed for college a couple of years behind mine, who's headed for college in a couple of 3 years. What are they going to be facing?
Well, I'd say a couple of things about that, Steve. First of all, I really think that we have to stop paying public money for colleges. If you want to save American education, then you have to stop funding this thing, and you have to explore. Forget about trying to reclaim the campus. That ship has sailed. It's an institution that's totally been taken over by the hard left. We're not going to reclaim the campus, not anytime soon. And the way to do this is to blow up the model, not to try to reclaim it. We can do education better with more quality and a whole lot cheaper by doing things like online courses and the like, and that's where we ought to be going. It'll be better for the kids, and it'll be better for the country. The second thing is, I would put this in the same category as most other progressive left-wing agitation, which is to say we should stop crediting it as if it was a good faith argument. This is simply speaking intimidation, and they do it because it works. They don't really believe. If they do, they're insane. So I don't think that anybody really believes that there's racist aggression ingrained in the campuses. I think they do it because they know they'll get concessions, and they have a weak-kneed opposition, and they get away with it.
Right. I mean, this guy, the supposed hunger striker, who looked pretty healthy to me. I don't know how long he was on a hunger strike. I've heard reports that his father is a very well-to-do. He comes from a very well-to-do family, and he's so afraid of his physical safety, as they all say they are now on campus, that the climate is so violent against blacks, and they all fear for everything. And by the way, the phony report by the student body president that the KKK was on campus, and he had to retract that. But if you're so afraid, I'm not saying that this is a solution, but if you're so afraid, why would you stay there 8 years and do your postgraduate work on that very campus?
Right. He elected to go back there after getting his 4-year degree. He decided to go back there because I guess it's a safe space for him, even though he says it's not anymore.
Crazy.
Look, it just goes to show there's no good faith here, Steve. It's just intimidation.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Barack Obama has released 6,112 prisoners from federal prisons. The average length of service or time spent in jail is 9.5 years. We're not just talking about drug possession. We're talking about drug traffickers.
Right.
Because the Sentencing Guidelines Board came up with the sentences were too harsh. Where are these? What's going to happen with these 6,000 people now roaming the streets?
Somewhere between 40 and 60 or more % of them are going to recidivate probably soon, which means you'll have an upsurge in crime, and it will be probably a more severe upsurge in crime than it would otherwise be, because in addition to releasing people from prison, Obama is making it harder and harder for police to do their jobs. And what this eventually will take us back to is what we had in the 1960s and 70s, which is the return of crime in a big way, in a crime wave way, and it's going to deteriorate our quality of life. A lot of people today, Steve, I grew up in the New York of the 1960s and 70s. A lot of people coming of age today think that New York started with Rudy Giuliani, and that we never had crime, that it was always peaceful and serene like it is now.
I just had a conversation with someone who's visiting from Florida just before this interview, just before the show started, and we pointed to Bryant Park. And she said, my father, who lives in Brooklyn, said, Bryant Park used to be a bad place. I said, you don't know how bad. And now it's an ice skating rink, and people congregate there, and it's a beautiful place. So you hit it right on the head. Andy, always great to talk to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve. Great to talk to you.
Andy McCarthy, ladies and gentlemen. The Malzberg panel's next with Roger Simon and Brent Badowski. Should be fun. Don't go away.